morning, everyone. I think you can still say good morning, right? It's not yet noon, even though we woke up a few hours ago now.
Yeah.
So good morning, Copenhagen. I have to say I'm extremely excited to have Flow in Copenhagen. It's basically our own backyard. But I'm even more excited to have these two amazing ladies joining me on stage today. So we got Marina here from Alohas and Velua from Copenhagen Cartel, two very interesting brands when it comes to sustainability. But before we go into the specifics when it comes to sustainability, let's talk just a little bit about purpose. Because what I think is so interesting about both Alohas and Copenhagen Cartel is that you're extremely purpose-driven. And that purpose is centered around sustainability, which is what we're here to talk about today. And the sustainability is such a big story about the brands as well. So, Marina, if we start with you, if you could just say a few words about yourself, and then let's dive into the purpose and the backstory of Alohas.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm the head of studio at Alohas, and my role is leading the production team and managing the creative operations in the studio. I joined Alohas 8 months ago with a new studio that we built now recently. I joined because I felt very aligned with the mission and values of the company. Actually, I think that was a very strong thing for me because to join them. And yeah, let's go a bit into the history of Alohas, which its mission is to change the way people consume fashion with ethical production, responsible shopping, and also trying to fight one of the biggest problems today of fashion industry, which is the overproduction. And later we will explain how we do that. The history, the company was founded in 2015, so 7 years ago approximately, by our founder and CEO, Alejandro Porras. He was in Hawaii living there, and he used to wear these very typical Spanish sandals that are called menorquinas. And people used to ask him, where did you get your shoes from? And so he decided to produce a small assortment of them and sell them in Hawaii. Since it was also the beginning of Instagram and social media, he really saw an opportunity there, so he posted a lot of pictures on Instagram. Hawaii also is the perfect scenario for that. And yeah, the brand got very famous and popular globally because of internet and social media. But it wasn't until 2019 when he realized that he could not create just another fashion brand. So 4 years later, and that's when Alohas switched the business model into the on-demand, which is the key of our success, I would say. And from that moment, the company grew exponentially, and yeah, basically it allowed the customers to pre-order the items that want it, and as a company, produce only what we know that we are going to sell.
All right, thank you. I think that's so fascinating. And Velua, over to you. I'd also love to hear a little bit about you and a little bit about Copenhagen Cartel. And I know that at least the idea behind Copenhagen Cartel was also born on an exotic island, but a different one.
It was. Yeah, I'm Velua. I'm the head of communications and performance at Copenhagen Cartel. I've been there for 10 months now. And I don't really need to say much about myself, but yeah, the brand, as you said, was founded founded as a professional. Well, she went full-time only 2 years ago. Her name is Kat, and she founded it because she was at Bali and saw all the plastic pollution that is there. So we were never founded to bring the most cutting-edge fashion to the consumers or to the world. We were founded to make the ocean matter, and we are steered by the belief that production and consumption shouldn't be at the expense of the ocean. So you can say that we're born green, we're born with sustainable, that's what we're here for. We're here to change the agenda, and we're doing that through styles and collections. So the products and the initiatives and the things that we do are conversation starters and a way to push the agenda and educate people and find, in collaborations, find more ways to stay smart with the planet's resources.
Awesome. And I think we are very lucky to have two brands with us on stage today that have two very different approaches to sustainability, which I find very interesting. So I'd like to talk just a little bit more about what sustainability means to you and how you approach that. And Velua, if we start with you, I've heard you say that you're not sustainable and you actually don't like to use the word sustainability. And why is that?
Yeah, I think we as a brand are a sustainable business, and we have sustainable design strategies, but producing is never going to be sustainable. Our products are not sustainable, and we're trying to, not that ours aren't, but nobody is, and we kind of want to be transparent about that. If we want to be able to educate people and have change the agenda, then we're going to have to claim that and say producing will never be sustainable. But we can do it in a way, as I said earlier, so it won't be at the expense of, for us in particular, the ocean. And then how can we do that? And that's obviously our main thing, is that we transform waste to value, because everything is made from regenerated materials. And we find different ways to do that. So I think if we want to take it further, as sorry, I forgot your name, but the guy that started the conversation said it's been on the agenda for a long time. But sustainability is also, for that matter, becoming a buzzword. So how can we talk about it in different ways? And we're trying to say it's more of a regeneration process, because we're regenerating things more than it's sustainable.
Yeah, and your swimwear, it's made out of ocean waste.
All our materials, I'm wearing leggings and this, all of our stuff is made out of, well, except from our ocean bead, which I can get to afterwards. But our main collections are made out of 78% regenerated nylon. And mainly, well, we don't know, because again, we can't say things that aren't true. We don't know how many percentage of that comes from the fishing nets. What we do is that we don't create it out of this kind of hard plastic. We create it out of the nylon, and we do that because that is less, what's it called? Breaking that down is less of an expense to it costs less resources to do that, but it's also, there's not that much of it. As you know, if you see the fishing nets, there's the big, beautiful green ones that we would like to use. Well, that would be easier, so we have to find the nylon, and then there's also nylon from carpets, etc. So, yeah, so it's 78% regenerated nylon, and some of it is fishing nets. And the rest is elastan, which is also a regenerated material.
Super cool. I love that. And Marina, you have a very different business model, and this model of pre-ordering, and I think that's super, super interesting. I know one of the things that you're trying to do is by pre-ordering, right, finding a way to be more sustainable when it comes to fashion. And are all of your products, are they made to pre-order? And how does the pre-order system, how does that actually work?
So we like to say that we try to reinvent a bit fast fashion, just because, in a more sustainable way, just because we still want to bring the latest trends into the market, but we want to do it in an ethical way and production-wise, and also keep the very high-quality products and avoid stock, big amounts of stock. So yeah, that's what we do, and what allows us to do so is the on-demand business model, which is, as I was saying before, the pre-ordering system, yeah, where people can buy in advance. And what we do for that is that we create just one sample of each design. We bring it to the studio. We create the imagery for that specific item. We launch it online without having any stock of this item. And then people can pre-order it. So we can get a very good forecast about the sales we're going to have. Also, we can know in advance which are going to be the best sellers, actually, and produce a bit more of stock of those. And yeah, that's how it works. Of course, then after, people need to wait a bit more for the products to arrive and to have them. But we compensate for that time, and we make a discount the earlier you get the product. And we do not offer any discount for products that are in stock and that are going to arrive in a couple of days.
So you're almost switching things around, right? The earlier you order, the bigger a discount you get.
Exactly. The way we want to approach it is like as if you would buy a flight ticket, let's say. we buy planes, and the earlier we plan our trips, the better prices we get and the more benefits we get as well. So we would like to apply the same for fashion. We are quite impatient as fashion consumers. But yeah, if you get a discount and you really want that product and you want to really invest on that, I think it's fine to wait a bit more and you get a discount as a compensation. We never say that we offer discounts or we do sales. We just reward the consumers for betting or choosing the on-demand business model.
I think as consumers, we've gotten very used to, if not same day, the next day, or at least very, very fast deliveries, right? It's one of the things that we take for granted when we shop online is that the product is going to be there almost instantly.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely a shift in mindset. Have you received any backlash, or how are the consumers, how are they reacting?
Well, they choose it or not, basically, yeah. But for that, we just create a lot of awareness, and we try to explain the whys behind that. So, yeah, it's about explaining why you are doing this, where you're contributing doing that purchase. Of course, also when you receive the product, you receive like a little card explaining the whole process and the perks of that, and which are the reasons why we do this business model. And yeah, at the end, if there's an awareness and people know why they do it, I think they can wait, and also because we are, as we were saying, we normalized certain timings when receiving our products. But well, I mean, I bought these boots before even being in Alohas, and I was happy to wait because I really want that product for a long time, and so it was a win-win. I get a discount, and I wait a bit more to receive my product, but I will have it anyway. So
sure, I like it. I've shopped at Alohas as well.
Yeah, yeah, nice.
Talking about campaigns and stuff like that, so I had a quick look at both of your websites last week and this week as well, and there's no Black Friday, there's no Cyber Monday, none of that, and of course that's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence, right? I mean, I know with Alohas, I noticed that you actually say on the website that you don't do Black Friday. So how does purpose and sustainability, how does that translate into both your imagery, campaigns, and the messaging that you do on the website and in general? I mean, I guess we can start with you, Velua.
With regards to the Black Friday or November, we did a campaign that's called Slowember, which means take it easy, basically. And I think you're touching on it as well. I think one of the biggest, because obviously I also do performance, we all know that the easiest thing to push sales is urgency. So what is the danger when you take out the urgency and you ask people to plan ahead? And therefore we said, okay, so there is no urgency. You can shop. We did have a discount. You can shop at a discount the whole month, but you can maximum buy 3 styles. So it was called Curb Consumption, Give Back, and Slow Down. And Give Back is because we are a member of 1% for the Planet, so we always donate 1% of our revenue to 1% for the Planet. And we have different NGOs that are actually the ones, because obviously we selected those, that actually clean the fishing nets and take them up. So we are basically not asking the consumer to give back, but we're saying, don't worry, every product sold, we save a baby sea turtle. So it was interesting to do, and obviously now we're at the end of it. And what I'm really impressed about, because we have done sales before, is that people have actually gone for the buying one thing instead of going crazy. And even there is another code where you can then buy more. But if people are only buying one, instead of then buying 2 to get a higher discount, they buy 1. And I was sitting looking at it, and I was speaking to the paid performance team, and I was like, I'm so impressed. They're like, you should send an email out. I was like, I really should, because it's so amazing. Normally people will just buy 8 things. And if we're looking at sustainable, obviously a challenge when you sell swimwear is that it's something you want to try. So it's easier to buy more and then just send back, but that obviously also affects the carbon footprint. So what we're doing is we're trying to educate, and it's a fine line, I think, like not making people feel bad about not being perfect and having to do everything right, but then getting it in. And this is the first time where I actually feel like we have educated people, so I'm super thrilled about that.
Again, also very interesting because it's sort of like the opposite approach again, right? Normally, you have to buy more to get a bigger discount. Yeah.
There is no what's it called? Option in Shopify to actually set a limit. So I was like, why? They're like, because it's Shopify. It's like you can set a minimum limit, but you can't set a maximum limit.
So you just
so actually they could actually go and buy more, but they don't. They don't know, but it's just interesting that it's not an option. Like it is literally buy more, buy more, buy more. But yeah, so very proud of our consumers.
It's interesting, and it's also interesting that just because you're saying on the website you can only buy free items, right? That people will actually stick to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's been 3 out of everyone that hasn't, and that's fine.
Okay, sure.
Take a chance. But no, it's it's interesting.
And Marina.
Yeah, for the Black Friday, I mean, we created a landing page explaining our position towards Black Friday, and we created like ways to lead traffic to that landing page to create a bit of educational content, let's say. And we just push the on-demand, because at the end we have discounts the whole year, so if people want discounts, it's like, okay, here you have discounts because we have them all the time, but for the pre-order, we don't do special discounts on Black Friday with the things that we have in stock, so at the end for us it's just like creating educational content and taking the chance to explain the on-demand a bit better. And yeah, in terms of imagery in general, we always try to focus on product a lot, highlighting the quality of it, because we produce things that are like that last for a long time and that are not meant to be disposable or thrown away after months. Are pieces that are meant to keep for time. So we really want to transmit that through our imagery and a bit of highlight the quality of our product. So also we do UGC content, user-generated content, in which also customers can explain and talk about the brand a lot, and also what their thoughts about the brand or the values. And yeah, I think that's it.
Mm. So I think when it comes to creative operations and the processes, right, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the big things or the small things that you try to be more sustainable. And I know, Marina, I know that this is something that you always have in mind during photo shoots and when you're in the studio. So what are the very hands-on, day-to-day practical things that you do during photo shoots and in the studio?
Yeah, I come from a production background, so of course I always look for efficiency and balancing with the creative aspect. But yeah, for me it's super important to spend time on pre-planning, and I'm a huge fan of focusing there. And I think that's a key factor to really use well your resources, which I think is super important, to take the best out of them, and to not, and an example would be, for example, the usage of props, no? Like, how are we going to use these props? Are we going to use them for more than one photo shoot, or are we going to use them and throw them away, or are we just rent them because we don't need them for more than one time? These are the questions, no? Then also, I think having the team on board is super important. I would say, like, in our case, it's easy because it's part of the team culture. Like, sustainability is in our daily conversations, but I think to make it as an important issue and transmit that to the team, it's super important. So we create an atmosphere of proactive thinking and being creative when finding solutions to daily things that we do, as in any office at the end, that we can always be a bit more sustainable. And we have this thing of that we always question ourselves. Like, this process that we are doing now, how we can make it a bit more sustainable. And we always can come up with ideas. So yeah, and as Jenny was mentioning before, right? Like, it's difficult when you are maybe sustainability is not an issue or a topic in your company. How we can remake the processes is a bit tough and complex, I guess. So I haven't been there, but yeah, I think investing time on this as soon as possible, it's the best way, and we don't have to be lazy here, I would say. More specifically, for productions, we try to be very local. We try to organize photo shoots always in a close location, with local talent if we can. Yeah, and always small things like offering catering with plant-based food, for example, avoiding single-use plastics in general. And also we are lucky because we built a studio in-house now recently. So we had the chance to create the processes from scratch, create our own policies, and decide a bit how we do things. and sharing the studio and the building, the space with the design team, so we can avoid shipments of samples here and there and have everything in the same place, so we can all share resources. That's an advantage that we also have. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, Velua, you're also trying to keep your shoots relatively low-key.
Yes, they are generally very low-key and generally locally as well. We don't have many props. We don't have those sort of things, and obviously because we don't have many drops either, we are So there's 2 photo shoots basically planned for next year. So there's not many. So it's also a case of bulking it. This year though, we were invited for a fashion show in Gran Canaria, swimsuit fashion show, our first ever fashion show. And then obviously it's a case of saying, okay, well now we are there and we have to go, so let's have a photo shoot. So in that sense, bulking it. The guys that did it are sitting right here. So it's about that, and it's about, I think it's everything we do is obviously the sustainable, and in the content and in the shoots, it's, as you said, it's second nature, and yeah.
I would like to just add quickly that if you think about it, most of the things we said also are an economic win. So we think that always being sustainable is spending more, and what we are talking about is using resources well and efficiently. So at the end, it's also an economic win, and yeah, just that.
Absolutely. And Velua, I also know at Copenhagen Cartel you do more than just produce sustainable swimwear. I know you work very closely with your local community and activate the local community to take action. What are the things you do, and why is this important?
We have a roadshow every summer where we do beach cleanups, which is for everyone. So that's activating the general consumer and communities. We have I don't remember how much. We have to collect, so that's one of our goals each year, how much plastic will we actually collect physically and actually doing it. And obviously, again, this is not plastic that we can use. It would be a nice storytelling if we could pick it up and create fabrics from it, but that's not the way it is. But we still do it because it's a bit, and that's a very big part of the culture that we do it. And obviously, Denmark is a small country, so everybody knows we have this big van that drives around the whole country and activate people. We also do it B2B. So businesses, Coca-Cola, Maersk, etc., has asked us to arrange their beach cleanups because we're kind of known for it. And I think that's a big part of our brand, is that a lot of other brands want to play with us because then we offer these things, we can activate the community, and we're doing it anyway. So yeah. That's how we do it. And then we have different events. Last year at Earth Day, we had a talk where we invited different people. And these things are generally free, but it's just a way to try and educate people. But also, I think it's, as I said earlier, it's super important to understand that we're all on a learning journey, and it's a strong curve, it's a high curve. So we're not perfect. And let's be transparent about that, because I think in that sense we will change more. So yeah.
I love that. I have to take part of one of those beach
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. They
Yeah.
really are in the summer. But
So, a question for both of you. Do you think that consumers are actually ready to pay more for sustainable and purpose-driven brands?
I would say yes, in general. Not everywhere, I think there's the same awareness, but in general, I think it's an additional value of the product. In our case, we also push like the quality, so it goes with the quality products and the local production. In that case, we produce everything in Spain and now in Portugal as well, as our neighbor country. I think, yes, I think if you are aware of the issue, then you can choose which cost you want to pay, and at the end, everything has a cost. We normalize certain prices, and we think that that's the standard, but what doesn't cost to you costs somewhere else, somehow. So I think this knowledge is not everywhere yet, but once you have it and once the awareness is created, I think then that's what we are missing, a bit more of awareness. Once we have this, then customers can choose. But yeah, I think definitely the prices, then you understand why are like they are, no? And we are making and putting a lot of effort on explaining why our price is the price it is. And so customers understand what they are paying for, and being, as you were saying, very honest and transparent about the cost of our products.
Yeah, as I just said with the whole Slovember campaign, it's a sign that they are ready, and I think I think it's a matter of like, so in old school marketing many years ago, there's push and there's pull marketing, right? And there will never be, you can never push the agenda, you can never push sustainability, you have to pull it in. So I think if you create a brand that is strong enough and will attract those people, then it's like any other brand that you're willing to pay a lot of money for a non-sustainable fast fashion because they have a brand that you want to identify with. And so I think there's a lot about that. I think there's a lot about in the branding and the marketing and the communication to create a brand that people want to be associated with. Because as soon as they want to have that thing, whatever it is, on their whatever style it is, then they're willing to pay. And then beforehand, it was fast fashion and it was like, whatever was cool. But I think that's also changing. I think that there is no doubt that everybody knows that we have to be good humans to each other and to the earth and all of that. So I think if we can manage to communicate that in a way where we're not shaming people that maybe aren't that far on the journey, then I think we have a good chance, yes.
Also, I think we are going towards, some people are buying less and buying better, maybe choosing better the products they want. So maybe it's less quantity, and you can spend a bit more on the products you are buying. Because at the end, if I talk to my friends sometimes about these things, and they tell me, but you spend a lot of money maybe, or these shoes are too expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but count how much you spend maybe, no? In total, maybe you have much more things, but how much you wear them, how much you like them, was an impulsive shop. So yeah, sometimes this is a switch that I'm also seeing more and more, buying less, but buying better.
Yeah, I agree. I was also happy to hear one of the panelists in the first session this morning talk about how sustainability, well, talking about it as a trend doesn't sound great, but that is definitely one of the things that we're seeing moving more and more of moving into the future. And I think we're actually at our final question today before we turn questions over to the audience. So before going to that final question, maybe now is the time to get your Slido app out and start asking questions to the ladies we got on stage today. But my final question, that is, it's for you, Velua, because in one of our previous conversations, you were talking about greenwashing. And I think we all know what greenwashing is. And I think we're all probably really afraid of being accused of greenwashing. But can you talk a little bit about greenwashing and what that is and why it's important to talk about?
I can try. I think it's in the word. It's about not saying what you do actually do that is good for the planet or the ocean or whatever. And obviously, with any trend, and I think you're right on the fact that it's a good trend, but then is it just greenwashing, or when can you do it? And a lot of the talks that we're having with different collaborators is that people are so scared now to go out and say something and then be accused of greenwashing, because then it could kill your brand. But we also have to be aware that we have to communicate the things that we do, because otherwise there is no education, there is no learning journey. But it's about being very basic. So when you say fishing nets, then I have to say, well, there's also other things, because then it's not greenwashing. But it's not less valuable. It would be a cooler story if we could say that it was only fishing nets, but in the end of the day, it's trash turned into value. So I think the whole, it's a balance, but I think it's super important, because I think back on asking questions and reflecting on your own brand, asking it, being very specific about what it is that you actually do, even though it's a small thing, is worth telling, because generally the consumers are 10 steps behind because they haven't had all these conversations. So if it's a small thing that you can tell them that by doing this, by buying this, by whatever, then you are part of the change, then I think it's super important.
I find that very relatable, I have to say. I mean, because I think greenwashing is something that we've been struggling a little bit with internally as well in Pixelz. We have been trying to take some measures, trying to become more sustainable, but we've been I want to say we've been a little bit hesitant talking about it, putting it on the website, because we really don't want to come across as if we're trying to greenwash. And of course, we're not perfect. Of course, there's much more that we could do and should do. And hosting events like this one, like flying people in for events like this one, it's obviously not the most sustainable thing that you can do. But in order to at least do something, we have been working with an organization called, what are they called? One Tree Planted. Yeah, and we have planted 2,022 trees here in Denmark this year. And thanks to you, Velua, I'm not going to greenwash it this time. And of course, there is a lot more that needs to be done, and there is a lot more that we should do as well. And I think, like you said before, I think we're all on a learning curve when it comes to sustainability. And I think, well, hopefully, a lot of us are doing as much as we can. And I also think what you were saying before about like just getting started, doing something, educating ourselves. I think that's really important, and I guess that's what we're doing here today. So with that, I think I want to turn questions over to the audience. Let's see what we've got. Awesome, we got a few things here. And I guess the first one here is for you, Marina, because when you do on-demand production, how does that affect the returns and the return rate?
I would say that the same way as without on-demand, honestly. Like, we try to make the whole imagery the best way possible. So we don't have any... That's what we mean, no, with that?
I think so. I mean, so when in a product...
Yeah.
I asked the question, like the return rates, is it the same as when you don't do on demand?
Yeah, everything works exactly the same.
But will it affect it? Because I thought the same thing. Like, is the return rate higher when you do on demand than a company that doesn't?
Nothing changes, no. No.
And I guess the products that do come return, you just sell them. The ones that buy them won't get a discount.
Exactly, but then, I mean, you mean like if they return, like it works differently, the process after, you mean? Like the process, or if there's more or less? It's the same. It's the same because at the end you are buying like from the same platform, so at the end it's the same numbers.
Okay.
But the consumer, so because I'm thinking there would be a lower return rate if you had some time to think about it, then you would less likely to return it because you've
no, because then also can be also that it doesn't fit well to you, or other things that maybe are like it's not related to that. But also because in general we push a lot of pre-planned shopping, and I think it doesn't make a difference. But I don't have the exact number, so maybe I should ask and get back to you more. But I mean, we never heard about that in the company. It's not an issue that we talk about, so I guess it's the same. So I'm quite sure it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah. And then we got one more here from Martin. And is sustainability equal to consumers buying less? Oh, things are jumping up and down here. And how does that tie into a business model for a company?
Well, we were commenting about like buying less, right? And buying better. I mean, it's just an approach, and I think that, I mean, this is more about margins, I guess, but I don't think it impacts negatively necessarily the fact of selling less amount of products, because the whole business model is based on another system. So, I mean, in our case, I think it's good as it is. Of course, we want to sell a lot, and the more the better for us as a company, right? But without having to encourage the impulsive shopping and buying a lot of product all at once, I would say.
Yeah, I don't think it's equal to. I think sustainability is much more than buying less. But I do think that I do understand the question, because if we want to sell a lot, then how do we encourage people to buy less? But I think that's when you do have a product that is a high quality. Like a lot of people, they need to have it in their hands. Ours aren't like super expensive, but they're more expensive than if you're going to buy 3 swimsuits in one summer. But what we get back feedback from the customer is that once they have it, they feel like shit. Sorry. When they then put on another product, then it doesn't feel the same, and then you don't kind of want to go back. And obviously we have timeless, more or less time. We don't have trends, so we have plain colors and no patterns and all of this, so it can be used for a long time. But at the same time, if you feel like it's such a good thing, you're going to buy it again. And then we're thinking multi-purpose into our stuff, so the swimsuit can also be used with your jeans and etc. And the more we kind of are able to communicate that and see the consumer using it, then there is a chance that they would buy more than one swimsuit, I guess. But yeah, so I think it's fine because we are on this curve. But yeah, it's a journey.
So for you, it's about high quality products and making sure that they don't go out of fashion.
Yeah, we
use
just
them
done
for a long time.
a collab with these people, a brand in Holland that's called Renew, and they go in and look objectively on our products, how many liters of water is saved, etc., etc. And one of them is how many times can you wear this, as in how many times can it be washed, etc. And so you can basically say, I think it's swimsuits is 120 times they calculated. So then you could think, as the one that wants to sell it, then they're never going to buy. But it doesn't. We have actually a fairly high returning customer rate because we have different things.
Mm. And one for you here, Marina, I think. What measures do you have in place for sustainable image production? And do you track these per shoot?
I would like to, because there are calculators that I would like to at some point to, also implement, but at the moment we don't. I would like to do so. And I always say that what we are trying, or I try personally, is to surround myself to people that know more than me about the topic and get input from people that are externals and that know more about this than me, even from other industries, because sometimes talking with someone that does production from another field, you can kind of adapt it to your own production flow. And also because here everyone that we have, or manage a studio, we have such different processes and different ways to work. So I guess that each one of us need to find the most accurate. And yeah, so that's why talking to different people will help to incorporate. Yeah, that's a tip that I give in general.
And here's one I think could be for you, Velua. Do you believe sustainable business models would scale to huge size? Are there enough recycled materials?
I think there is enough. I unfortunately think we produce enough waste for that to happen. But again, the more we've created a product which is made out of material made out of ocean weed. Which means that we are harvesting ocean weed and then using those fibers, combining them with organic cotton. And obviously, cotton is some of the thing that use the most water. And the more we can get to use these things, the better, because it doesn't cost anything. And it's actually 100% sustainable, because when we take away the ocean weed, it will regenerate itself, which means that the whole biodiversity is actually benefiting from harvesting it, and there is so much, and then we have rules, we can only harvest every 4 years, etc. So if we wanted to, in an ideal world, we would only create out of these things, but at the same time, there is all this waste that we can then use for something. So I think there's enough, and I do think it's scalable, but it's a long process, and we're a very small company. We're 8 full-timers, so it's not, so we can definitely scale from here, but we don't have the resources to just go all in on the ocean weed, but we trademarked it, and that's a part of the vision.
Thank you. We are running out of time. We do have a lot of really good questions coming in, but you'll be able to find Velua and Marina here, so go talk to them after this session or in the next break. So let's give a hand of applause for Marina and Velua.